So the Black Veil Brides have been pretty big on the metal rock, radio metal scene for a little while now. I think 3 or 4 years they've been pretty popular. And I have to admit, I have never listened to them before this new album came out. I've heard mostly negative things about them from my friends and some reviews I've heard and read online, but I've never listened to them myself. So I figured I'd check this album out and see if those criticisms were warranted. And I expected to hate it a lot, just from their image and what I'd heard about them. But I'll say I didn't really hate it. I just think I left, after listening to the album, I left thoroughly unimpressed. They are basically the definition of modern radio rock, radio metal. You know, they're such just, they're so what you would expect to hear on the radio, or they're just the most generic sounding thing you can imagine. It's not necessarily terrible. Their guitarist, their drummer, their bass player, they're all, at least capable of playing well enough, but there's really nothing here to distinguish them from any other band of the same genre, or even a similar genre. Their singer, while he's not the worst singer I've ever heard, he's fits in well here, but only here. I can't imagine him having done anything else. His range is almost non-existent, and he sings in basically the same style for the entire album. You know, the songs, there's a few songs on here that are, okay and fun to listen to, but even if you're into this style of music, I can't really imagine listening to these songs multiple times. You know, it's an album where there's some soft songs and some heavier songs kind of mixed in together with some more radio singles, like I think Faithless and Hearts on Fire were the singles they released. And I can't really say whether or not any of these songs stuck out because they all sounded pretty similar, even if they are different in their, I guess, heaviness, speed, and lyrics. They all just have this kind of flow together, this sameness about them. And the singer, at some points, it just sounds really awkward as he tries to be this hard rock, heavy metal kind of badass, but he's singing really just bland, dull, and uninspired lyrics. I can definitely see why they're popular, especially with this album, and I haven't listened to their other ones, so enough. Anyway, I've listened to a couple tracks, actually, after listening to their new one here. I can definitely see where they have influences from bands like Avenged Sevenfold, and even something like Five Finger Death Punch that have, a little bit of that more hard rock metal edge to them. But this, I can see why they're popular, but I couldn't get into them. I think it's just, they're very, very generic. And, to listen to them is basically listening to every other kind of radio rock band like Stone Sour or even some of Slipknot stuff. Slipknot is quite a bit heavier than this in most occasions. Five Finger Death Punch, Hell Yeah, Trivium, it's very generic to me. I couldn't really get into it. But if you're a fan of this band, comparing this to their older material, this definitely does seem like an actual improvement. They sound more mature here and like they really know what they're doing. But if you're looking for something to blow your socks off or to be something new and interesting, I'd have to look elsewhere. This album to me is basically the definition of average. I'd have to give it a 5 out of 10, if I were to give it a score anyway. 5 out of 10, maybe 5.5. Maybe to a 6 even if you really like this style of music, but for me, it's going to stay around a 5. So, thanks for listening.